Hi, Dr. Rolf here from Willow Chiropractic. Today I'd like to talk to you about the use of ice and heat. Oftentimes, when we are in pain or in discomfort, we like to do something at home ourselves, and most of us know that taking painkillers is not necessarily the best thing to do. So ice and heat are very convenient to use. We usually have things around at home that we can use for ice or heat therapy. It is very cheap, and applied properly, it can actually also be very effective. Now, I do often get patients come in who tell me that they have been using heat on their pain, and even though it felt quite nice while it was on, it looks like the pain is getting worse. And there is a good reason for that. So it is important to know which one to use in what instance. And that's what I'd like to talk to you about today. Let's start with ice. When do we need to use ice? Generally speaking, ice is used for what we call acute injuries. Acute not necessarily meaning it's very bad, but acute just meaning of short duration. So that means it's an injury that only just happened or a pain that only just started. Can be, for example, if you're out walking and you twist your ankle or you hurt your knee in some ways, or can simply be you wake up with a pain in the neck or a pain in the back that wasn't there the night before. In all those cases, it's best to use ice rather than heat on it. What you do is you get an ice pack if you have one, or can use a pack of frozen peas or frozen veggies, something like that. And it's very important that before you put that on, that you wrap a thin tea towel around it. Don't put an ice pack or a pack of frozen peas directly on the skin, otherwise it can actually harm the skin. What's also important is not to leave it on for too long. It's best to put the ice on for 10 minutes at a time. If you leave it on any longer, it's actually not making it more effective, in the contrary. And again, there is the risk to actually cause damage to the skin. So you put it on for 10 minutes, then you put it back in the freezer, and you need to leave it off for at least 20 minutes before putting it back on. So if you have just injured yourself or you have just woken up with a pain in the neck, put the ice pack on 10 minutes, take it off 20 minutes, put it back on again 10, take it off 20, and you can repeat that as often as you like, basically until you feel that the pain starts to ease off. In the event of a twisted ankle or a hurt knee, and if there is some swelling involved as well, what you might want to do at the same time is actually elevate the leg while you have the ice on. And it's also possible to use a bandage to put a bit of compression there to help with the swelling. Now, when should we not use ice? Basically, ice is generally safe to use. You can't really make things worse. But in the instance of poor circulation, or if you have sensory problems, for example, with bad diabetes and you can't feel things, it's not advised to use ice, again, because of the risk of causing some damage to the skin. But in any other case, it's perfectly safe to use the ice provided you don't leave it on for too long. Now, the heat is useful in chronic aching and stiffness. Chronic meaning of long duration, so generally we say more than a month or two. That can be the case if people who have, for example, osteoarthritis or other conditions that just cause aching and muscle stiffness, joint stiffness. Now, the most popular and easiest way to use heat therapy is soaking in a hot bath. You can actually stay in the bath as long as you like, so it's not like with the ice where you can only apply it for 10 minutes and no longer. The bath generally does start to cool off as well, so you'd want to get out at some stage anyway. What you can do as well to help with the effect is add some Epsom salts to the bath, and that can certainly help to increase the effect on sore muscles in particular. The other way to use heat is the use of a hot water bottle or a heat pack or a wheat bag, for example, that you put in the microwave. Now there you need to be careful that it's not too hot. You don't want to burn yourself. So with a hot water bottle, for example, if you put boiling hot water in there, make sure you wrap a towel around it as well so it doesn't feel too hot. With a wheat bag as well, just make sure that it feels okay, that it is not too hot and burns the skin. Also with the hot water bottle or the wheat bag or heat pad, there's no limit really of how long you can keep it on. Again, it will actually start to cool off pretty soon anyway, or pretty quickly anyway. When not to use heat, never use heat on an open wound. Also, don't use heat if you have bad diabetes, if you have dermatitis, if you have vascular diseases, in the case of deep vein thrombosis, or also if you suffer from MS, it's actually not advised to use heat. So there's a bit bigger array of contraindications there. If in doubt, in general, if you're not sure, should you use heat, should you use ice? Ice is always the safer option to do. Again, with the exception of having problems with your circulation or bad diabetes, for example, if you can't feel the skin. But other than that, ice is safe to use, provided you don't leave it on for too long. Now, in between the acute and the chronic problems, there is what we call subacute. So it's been there for a few days, maybe a week or so, but not a month or two yet. The body generally at that stage has started to heal an injury, and this is where it's also useful to use both ice and heat. So what you do is you basically alternate. Start with an ice pack, and then rather than just take the ice pack off and leave it, you can actually use a hot water bottle or a wheat bag for the 20 minutes until you put the ice on again. For starters, you generally finish off with ice. A bit later on, if it's been there for a few weeks, you can finish off with heat, and that just helps to promote the healing as well. I don't want to get into too much detail. It's getting a bit too complicated otherwise. So again, to recap, if in doubt, use ice. Don't use it more for 10 minutes at a time. Take it off at least 20 after that. If it's a long-standing issue, use heat. And one other rule of thumb, if you put either the ice or the heat on and it makes things feel worse, stop using it. Okay, I hope that helps, and take care of yourselves, and until next time.